Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for dropping by again. Today we have something really special to me. We have the Mandalorian from Hot Toys. This dude is looking so good. I'm really excited to open this box up. Real quick, if you have not already subscribed, please click the subscribe button below if you like this content and want to see more like it. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive right into this bad boy. Okay, now that we have everything unboxed, let's go ahead and start with his accessories, beginning with the hands. These have quite a bit of weathering on them, displaying just how much he's kicked some major booty. I mean, seriously, I personally would not want to fight Mando. I mean, Kara, she put up a pretty good fight. But anyway, getting back to the hands. Yeah, definitely impressed with the hands. Next, we have his OG right shoulder pad that's actually interchangeable with the Beskar pad that you'll see in just a few minutes. So this looks like metal that was painted and then has subsequently been in a bunch of battles and been scuffed up from all this stuff. And I really enjoy it. It's quite thin. It does feel like plastic once you hold it, but honestly it looks like metal. Mando also comes with this little detonator charge that has a nice metallic finish to it. I really enjoy the red coloring that they provided. There is a tiny little piece of fabric on the back of it though that does make it stick out when you put it on his hip holster. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't fit quite nicely with the rest of them. He also comes with this communicator device so that, you know, on Friday nights, Mando can call up his lady friends. Hey yo, what up, girl? But seriously, the finish looks metallic, and I'm actually really impressed with this tiny little accessory. Ooh, moving on to something that I'm sure a lot of us want to see is his main sidearm blaster. This thing looks phenomenal. It legitimately looks like they took the blaster from the show, like zapped it with a shrink ray, and then just mass produced it. This has a great metallic finish. I do believe it's made out of plastic. It's very light, and it feels like it's made out of plastic, but nonetheless, very impressed. Even more impressive would be his blaster rifle. Ooh, dang. I just want you to take a moment and really appreciate this rifle. If you notice here at the tip, you'll see that they actually provided a nice color gradient that blends really well with the sort of electrical zappy-majiggy that I'll show you in a sec, but this is absolutely amazing. It looks like it's made out of wood, it looks like it's made out of metal, it looks just like the rifle from the show, at least as best I can remember, and it comes with this little strap. The only complaint I have with this gun is this darn little thing. That little piece at the end is very fragile, so be careful when you plug it in. Another cool thing about this though, in addition to its looks, is the fact that you can remove the little telescope. That's so cool. So if you wanted to like look through it like a little pirate or whatever, you can take it off and have them hold it. That's a pretty neat feature. Okay, so next we have the little lightning bolt thing that is meant to be attached at the end of the blaster rifle. It looks pretty good. I just want to say, I wish Count Dooku's was this short because that's much more practical. I'm honestly probably just going to use it for Count Dooku than I am for Mando. Anywho, here we've got the base. It comes with this awesome Remnant Trooper helmet that actually sticks right onto one of the two spokes. Doesn't matter which one. The spokes actually fit very tightly into the base itself. So keep in mind when you put it in there, you're gonna have to be really careful taking it out because it might not come out. Anyway, here we have the Remnant Trooper's helmet that is really weathered. At first when I saw it, I was like, oh man, this thing is way too weathered. But looking at it closely and in person, I thought it was actually just the right amount of weathering. I also really enjoy the blood on the head of the helmet. It's not something you usually see with Star Wars or Disney, and this was just like a nice little touch of reality in my opinion. Attached to it is this sort of brown colored fabric that adds a nice layer of texture. Alright. Here we are with the man, the myth, the legend, Mando! Wow, here he is, looking absolutely wonderful. His armor plating looks like it's actually battle damaged. It looks like it's all been sort of made out of some type of metal and painted or forged, but it feels and looks so authentic. I'm really, really satisfied with this, just even at a first glance. All the way down to his boot. His boot even looks like it has a great amount of like mud weathering that just shows he's been walking on all these different planets, not really, going to a cobbler and getting his stuff done. But seriously, super impressed with this. I'm not gonna lie, Mando's rocking nicer boots than me, and I live in the Midwest. That's like a thing up here. Nice boots are just like a cool thing to have, and his are sweet, all the way down to the sole. Hot Toys does it again. These lugged soles are awesome. So far, there is not a single detail that has been missed, at least as far as I can tell. Even looking at his back, we can see that he has the strap, we can see his metal belt. I mean, this is awesome. I sound like a little schoolgirl getting a VIP pass for like her favorite boy band, but honestly, this figure is really well done. Okay, I just want to take a closer look at his helmet and appreciate some of the details. It has a solid amount of weathering that makes it look battle damaged, or at least worn, and the dimensions looked dang near perfect. I must say I wish this were made out of die-cast, but it's not. It's made out of plastic and has a phenomenal paint finish on it to make it look like it's made out of metal. If we circle around to his back, we'll notice some of these damaged components of his back plates that just add an additional layer of complexity. As for his right shoulder, we have the Beskar metal that is interchangeable with the previous shoulder pad that we saw a few minutes ago. They look great. They use Velcro. Keep in mind, you won't want to replace them too often, otherwise it may wear out the Velcro. Moving down to his belt and his blaster holder, this thing looks awesome. However, the little strap here that you have to use to close is kind of a pain in the butt to actually get to fit correctly, and it's quite thin and fragile. Fortunately, similar to his shoulder pads on his thighs, he also has interchangeable plates. Now, I'm not sure what you'll want to interchange them with. I guess you could try interchanging them with the next Mando that comes out with Beskar armor, but you would already have a Mando with Beskar armor, so who knows? A cool little feature that I thought was interesting was the fact that his actual blaster shots were movable up top, but not down below. Instead, they're fixed and completely rigid. You can't move them. It's a small difference, but one to know. Okay, why don't we go ahead and move on to the articulation, starting with his head. His head is super duper mobile. You can move it forward, backward, up, down, side to side, north, south, east, west. This thing moves all over the place, which is awesome because it just provides an additional layer of articulation and posability. Okay, so time for some bad news. His shoulder mobility is pretty limited, and I think it's because of the fabric that his arms are encased with. So on both sides, you'll actually notice there's quite a bit of shoulder limitation. You can't really pull his arms back that much. You can't really raise his shoulders much. His shoulders just don't have much range, and I honestly think it's because of the gray fabric. For me, that's my biggest complaint with the figure. Otherwise, his joint articulation is pretty solid. His elbows have the almost 180-degree range of motion, as we would hope for, which is actually really nice because that sort of compensates for some of the shoulder limitation. That's the word. All right, moving down to the waist mobility, because the fabric and the sort of belt across his chest, it kind of makes it difficult to move his waist. Fortunately though, his hips are pretty mobile. I mean, dang, he's pretty close to doing like almost splits here. That's pretty impressive, Mando. You've been doing your stretches. I think that's a really important component, especially if you want him to do his sort of reflexive gunslinger poses. As for raising his legs, he can raise them a pretty good amount. And he can also kick his legs back a decent amount, which is fair enough for the Mando. He's also able to rotate his hips quite a bit, which is a nice little touch. Moving down to his knees, they have wonderful mobility, despite all of the knee braces and gear kind of around his shins. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. Okay, so let's move on to his second most versatile joint in my opinion, his ankles. They have a wonderful range of mobility. They're able to go up, down, side to side, all around, similar to his neck. Overall, his articulation is fair, with notable limitations in his shoulder joints. Anyway, let's take a closer look and really appreciate Mandalorian in all his glory. This figure is so stunning, it just catches the eye. It looks clean, it looks authentic. I mean, dang, look at you, Mando. This is truly a necessary piece of the collection for anyone who considers themselves a serious Mandalorian fan and Hot Toys collector. I would like to echo some of the key pros and cons that I've mentioned throughout the video. The pros are, this thing is authentic. It looks just like Mando from the show, and it's just a head turner. The cons are, well, there are mainly two. The first one being the fragility of that tiny little pin with his blaster rifle. Be careful, it might break on you. The second being his limited shoulder mobility. Otherwise, this figure is awesome. I have no complaints. Anyway, that's going to be all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I had a blast posing him and making this video. If you like this content and you want to see more, please click the subscribe button below if you haven't already. Until next time, I'll see you in the future.